It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
And Les Webster.
Hello, all.
Unfortunately, Liz could not be with us once again, but she will be with us next week. She's still under the weather, battling some health issues, but she will be with us next week. And Liz, we do miss you.
She needs to show up so she can share them good drugs.
That's
all I'm saying.
So how are you guys doing?
I'm just thinking that Mike is on his own here.
Oh, gosh. Yep. That's not unusual, though.
Well, I hope everybody out there is doing okay. And what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, gosh. It's been just a gaming weekend over here this week. Yesterday we did our D&D game, which I almost said our regular D&D game, but it's really not very regular. But, you know, we kind of do what we can. One of our number is a high school teacher, and so he's very, very busy during the week, so he doesn't have much time to prep. So
right.
If we get in 3 or 4 sessions during the school year, we're doing good. And then we kind of flip it to, we can squeeze in 2 or 3 more in the summer, and you know, you do what you can when you get to be our age. Well, for one, it's not as easy to pull the 12-hour game sessions in a day, and it's also, which we don't even try that anymore. We try to limit ourselves to 6. That's all we can handle. But part of my deal with that is, well, one, we're having a pretty good time doing it. But 2, I kind of feel like hell today, and due to a condition which I am starting to refer to as gaming hangover. It is the issue I have when I spend the better part of the day all hyped up and excited and in there and having a blast role playing and cutting up with people and being social generally. When I do that for more than about 6 or 8 hours, I tend to feel like hell the next day because I've just been like all the stress of that kind of catches up to me, and you know, I end up with the kind of a slight headache and just kind of a bad mood. It's not good, but you know, it's also not fatal. The kind of the other thing I've been doing is the online game I play, Dungeons and Dragons Online. They're working right now. They have a separate server set up. Normally there's 6 or 7 servers. I can never remember to count. There might even be 8. They set up a separate server, and they've got it set up for essentially a permadeath scenario, which they call Hardcore League. They usually run this thing this is actually the second time they've done it, and they're doing it for, I think it was 12 weeks. And so basically the deal, if you're not familiar with permadeath, the deal is you get 1 life, and that's it. I mean, you can start a new character if you die, if you want to, but when your character dies, you're done. Which is very different from the normal play of the game, because normally death is just not that big a deal. Worst case scenario is you have to bounce out of the quest and go get yourself healed back up and try again. Best case, obviously, is you've got healers in the group that can bring you back to life, can cast Raise Dead or Resurrection on you as you're going along. So death is not really a big deal with the game. under normal circumstances. So the hardcore league is rough. It's a big adjustment, and part of the reason I bring this up is, well, one, it's fun for the most part, and two, I died today.
No.
Yeah, it was about the same point where I died last time, so I can make it to about sixth or seventh level, and then I guess I just can't do it anymore. I don't know, I either have to scale it back so far that I can't really make any progress, or I just have to die a few times to get it. I have to try a couple times before I get something right, and I don't know, but yeah, so I'm done for this round, because I honestly don't want to. I'm weird in that I don't want to spend that much time on it because I have other stuff I'm doing on my regular server, and so I want to go back to that. So, but again, it's fun. Um, but I mean, there are people who just, well, one, there are people who play like a ridiculous number of hours per week. Um, and of course, you've got the streamers who do that also. So some people can just sort of dump all the time they want into it. The rest of us can't do that necessarily. And also, some of us are not as talented at playing the game as others. And I'm one of those, so I'm not that great at it. It's fun and I enjoy it, but you hear stories of people running all the way from level 1 to level 30 in a matter of days, whereas it takes me more like weeks or months. I mean, if I can do it in 2 to 3 months, I'm doing good. And there are people that can do it in an afternoon, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. That's insane. But yeah, so it's fun, having fun with it. But yeah, sad face because I died today.
Now, when you say you re-enter after you've healed, not necessarily from players that are healers,
Right.
but you have to go through and play more games to get back into the status of what you were playing before.
Well, no, not necessarily. If you, I mean, like I said, worst case scenario, you have to bounce out of the quest. You can just restart the quest. And honestly, if you can get yourself healed up and ready to go fast enough, most of the time you can actually jump back into the quest. It's got like a 5-minute timer on it. So
Okay.
if you can jump back in fast enough, you can just sort of sprint back to where you were and finish from there. Worst case from that is you don't make it, and so you have to restart the quest. But quests are, I mean, most of the quests are anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes long. So there are some that are longer, but that's then you can actually do some. Depending on how fast you do them, you can do them faster. But so you're not really losing a whole lot of time and effort, which is part of why it's not that big a deal to die in the game normally. It's just it's a minor inconvenience.
Okay.
Obviously not with the hardcore, but yeah. So yeah, I mean you're not really losing. It's not like in the old days with D&D when you would actually lose XP every time you died. You get brought back to life. You would get hit with an experience penalty, so you would be that much further away from leveling. This game doesn't work that way. D&D doesn't work that way anymore, so it's not such a big hit.
Okay. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a game. It should be fun, so you know.
True.
Thinking about trying it out, Wes?
I wouldn't have no idea. I'd be floundering so bad they would start contacting me and say, drop out, just leave it.
See, you say that, but my 13-year-old has started playing not long ago.
Really?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, if you can outlast a hyperactive 13-year-old, I mean,
I'm not sure that's even possible.
You should try it out, Les. Heck, I might try it. Who knows? Just to see.
Yeah.
Let me know. I'll do what I can to help you out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Mm.
All right, Les, how about you?
A couple things. I attended my first XFL game yesterday. Dallas and New York. It was interesting. It's definitely not as high impact as NFL, but it was interesting to watch, to see how the differences are made. The idea of a running clock, the idea of 25 seconds to snap the ball. And they do have one official on the field that does nothing more than set the ball. He has no flag, no whistle. He just runs up, he sets the ball. He has usually a ball in his hand, and he has a pouch with probably another ball and maybe some equipment in case the ball gets wet. It's a very fast game. It was fun. It was open to the elements. So it was a little bit chilly yesterday, but it was fun. The other thing was I found a document called Truly Miss Marple. I can't remember. But what it's about is Margaret Rutherford, the actress who played Miss Marple in several movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun to watch and find out about her and the character and how it touched people, including writers and co-stars. It was kind of fun to find out about this and how she is revered as a champion actress. So if you get the chance, it's interesting to sit and watch, get the lowdown on this person.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've just been kind of taking it easy and catching up on reading. And one of the latest books I got, I think you guys would be interested. And if you are a classic Star Trek fan, you would probably get a kick out of this book. It is written by Dayton Ward and is illustrated by Christian Cornea. If you're a fan of the old show, you know that Captain Kirk has a unique fighting style. So with that in mind, they wrote this book called Star Trek Kirk Fu Manual.
Kirk Fu.
So if you want to learn all of his classic battle moves, here's your book. Like the Tiberius Twist, the Double Clutch, my favorite, the Flying Drop Kirk, the Jimmy Wallbanger, the JTKO, and there's like 12 different moves in this book, and there's illustrations from scenes of work from the old show where the move was used, and then there's also a double-page spread for each one on how to make the move. And of course, everyone ends with Kirk with the torn shirt.
Of course.
And a little scratches on his face and all that because hey, he's been fighting.
Mm.
It's a fun book. I mean, they even have a personal log from Kirk from that episode about that fight. So I mean, it was a fun, quick read. I highly recommend it. And spoilers, there is a bonus section. Not only is there an assessment test here with a certificate of training, there's a bonus section called Spock Fu. Called a logical alternative to Kirk Fu. And there's only one maneuver, and you can probably figure out what that is.
Of course there is.
What would that be, Mikey?
That would be the Vulcan nerve pinch.
There you go.
That's funny.
It's a fun book. I found out about it a few weeks ago, and I was like, I gotta get this. So it just came out within the last week or so. So definitely pick that up.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's a hoot. It's pretty much what I expected, maybe even more so, because I was like, okay, this is done. This has got to be done with tongue firmly in cheek, and it's not in the cheek. It's like, beyond.
All the way through the cheek.
All the way through the cheek, yes.
Cool.
All right, before we get into this week's discussion, I do want to mention our monthly meet and gab. Of course, by the time this episode drops, we would have already had our March meetup. But if you're not aware of what our meet and gab is, every second Saturday of the month, we do a kind of a hangout where if y'all are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you'd like to come spend some time with us, kind of talk about anything that's going on in the geek universe and have some good food. We definitely do that. Our place of hangout is Wing City, which is located at 1456 Beltline Road in Garland, and the zip is 75044. Like I said, second Saturday of the month, 7 p.m., so y'all are more than welcome to come hang out with us. So the next one in April will be the 11th, April 11th. So we'll have all that stuff posted up here in a not too distant future. There's information about it on our website. Just go to www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net and go to our events page. Or if you're following us on Facebook, we have a Facebook event set up there. So just check out all that information if you're interested in coming and hang out with us and have some great food and some great conversation. And also, that is a perfect place and time for you to donate your all ages and teen comics for Comics for Kids, the charity that we are working with. They need to be new or like new. If you want to donate them, we'll gladly take them and send them off. There's going to be information on the website. You can just go to the CB4K tab on our website, or you can go to www.comicbooksforkids.org to find out more information about this charity. If you like to make a financial donation, which would go to the shipping costs for the comics that are going to kids in hospitals and cancer centers to kind of brighten up their day and kind of take their mind off the illness that they are dealing with. So there's a PayPal tab there. More information about the charity and some of the testimonials that they have received from the hospitals, which they work with a ton of hospitals. The network grows bigger and bigger every day. And also you can find out information about some of the exclusive merchandise they have, which all the proceeds once again go to shipping costs for the books. There's variant covers that are exclusively for the charity. And believe they just released the second coloring book, which features original art from some big names in the comic book industry that donated work just to put together this coloring book. So definitely just go check out their website, and if you can, please help out this great charity. Alrighty. So our look at comedy, this comedy month, which was gone a little bit longer than a month, it's actually coming to a close with today's episode. And this has been fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I know we have. But it's ending on a short-lived series that I didn't know much about until, and I forgot when I first saw some of the first episodes. It's been several years ago. And didn't know the history behind it and all that. So when I started kind of looking into it, I was like, oh, okay. And the series that we're going to be talking about is Fawlty Towers, starring John Cleese and his then wife, Connie Booth. And this was in the mid-'70s. He actually left Monty Python Flying Circus early. And that, I noticed when I was watching him a long time ago, I noticed that all of a sudden he was gone. I was going, what the hell's going on? And at the time, didn't really have the internet, so couldn't look that stuff up to find out why he wasn't there anymore. And come to find out that, you know, he basically left the group due to felt that he couldn't contribute anything. He was repeating himself, so he didn't feel he was doing anything original. Plus the fact that his writing partner, Graham Chapman, his drinking was getting a little bit more, what would be the good word to say? Just
out of control?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going to say. But yeah. So he just felt the time was right for him to leave, and he was actually looking at doing I don't know, was it supposed to be originally a sketch, or is it actually, he was going to be a show that was based off a hotel owner. I know that the origin is that it was based off a hotel owner that the group encountered at one time, but I didn't know if he actually wanted to do a sketch or decided, hey, that was a idea to do the show. But that's essentially where his character Basil Fawlty came from. Was from a hotel owner that they had dealt with in the past. So with that all said, let me go ahead and step back a little bit and get your thoughts about Fawlty Towers.
This was a program that ran for 2 seasons, but they were not consecutive. You had a 4-year gap between the two 6-episode series.
Mm-hmm.
And this, to me, is one of the things that I enjoy about John Cleese so much. The man was co-writer, and he was, I don't like to use the term, but he was a genius in both slapstick and cerebral comedy. The dialogue was hilarious. It was something that I would sit down and watch another episode again and again. The cast was superb. You had Prunella Scales playing his wife, Sybil. Cleese was playing Basil. Polly was played by Connie Booth, and the fourth member of the group was Andrew Sachs, played Manuel, which was a stretch because Andrew Sachs was German-born and played a Spanish waiter. This was a TV show. This made my wife laugh. And to get my wife to laugh at something other than Burt Reynolds is quite the accomplishment. This, the hotel was run by the four of them with gags and guests, not guest stars, but as far as I can tell, but these characters that were in and out were just phenomenal. And people would be able, a viewer is able to pick up on what's going on in a matter of seconds. And even if they have a reference to a previous episode, it's not like they belabor it and make you think that you have to go watch the other episode to understand this one. That's because of the writing. This, to me, is one of the best comedies to come out of Britain. And let me ask, wasn't there a thought that they were going to do a American version of this at one time?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I believe there was, but I don't think it didn't quite make it through to being on the air.
Because I thought that it was going to be something that was going to star Whoopi Goldberg in the title role.
Oh, Lord.
Not that she would carry Basil over. It was just kind of a layout for it.
Well, according to this, there was a pilot in 1978 called Chateau Snavely, and it was to star Harvey Korman and Betty White.
Okay.
That would have been interesting. It says, but the transfer from a coastal hotel to a highway motel proved too much, and the series was never produced. That was for ABC. Like I said, 78. There was a second one that was for ABC. It was going to be called Amanda's, and it was going to star B. Arthur.
Okay.
And it says it also failed to pick up a major audience and was dropped after 10 episodes had been aired. So there was an actual one that was aired. And it says 13 episodes shot, but 10 had aired. And then a third one called Pain that was produced and starring John Larroquette. Ooh, okay. Was produced in 1999, but was canceled shortly after. 9 episodes were produced, of which 8 aired on American television, though the complete run was broadcast overseas. And then there was a German version that was pilot done in 2001, but that was just a pilot. So yeah, there was actually a couple American versions, but they never, they didn't even make it to the 10 episode. Well, 10 episodes was the most.
Yeah.
So they did not surpass the British run, but
well, Or is anybody really surprised?
This is not a series that was going to make it. You're not going to Americanize this.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be the same.
Honestly, I would be kind of interesting. I would be interested in seeing these, knowing. I could see Lara Roquette to a degree, being able to do it, but it being successful, yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Here's
anybody.
here's my thinking. If
Right.
you want to see the closest thing you're going to get to an American version of Faulty Towers that actually works,
Yeah.
find a show called Becker.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It starred Ted Danson,
Yep.
and he was a doctor. And he was basically just the crotchetiest old bastard you could possibly imagine. And there's a cast of characters around him, a couple of the office workers, a couple of people in the local diner he hangs out in,
Oh yeah.
that sort of thing. It's hilarious. It's a really good show.
Hmm.
But to try to mimic Faulty Towers would never work.
Right.
It's just you're not going to get an American version of that because you can't Americanize Basil Fawlty. He is just so damn British it hurts.
That's a good point. Yep.
It's just never you're just never going to pull it off because
Right.
the Americans are just different. Anybody who acted like Basil Fawlty in this country would be locked away. They would be on medication somewhere because there's no way Americans are going to tolerate that kind of behavior. But anyway.
That's. I've watched Becker. It's not one of those that I sat down and watched it all the time, but I had seen several of the episodes, and it's a good cast. It's a good written show. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of didn't either until just now. But it's as far as finding a TV show with a main character who's just impossible to like.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the one that popped into my head. I wouldn't call it a favorite either, but I've watched. I mean, honestly, I watched some of it. What I watched in reruns. I don't watch stuff on even 10,
Well,
15
yeah.
years ago
I mean,
when it was on. I didn't watch stuff on TV that much, but
yeah. I didn't watch it once first run either. So.
yeah. But it's actually it's got some really good writing. It's just some. I mean, he's just so acerbic. It's amazing. And Ted Danson does it really well too.
Yes.
Really well. So it's actually really well acted too. But
Yeah, it's a nice cast.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the kind of thing, Faulty Towers is the kind of thing that it's a lightning in the bottle type thing. You're never ever going to pull that off that way again. I mean, there's a reason why there are only 12 of these things, and honestly, it took them, like you said, 4 years between attempts. Cleese had been working on this on his own for, like you said, 2 or 3 years before he even started trying to market the thing.
Right.
And then it, like you said, it took 4 years to get a second series out of it. I mean, to try to continue that, I can't. I mean, you just can't imagine anybody but John Cleese doing it. And I'm sure he got tired of it. I mean, Cleese was always an energetic performer, but holy crap, it would take a lot of energy to do that. That character is just so manic. I mean, it's one of the things. One of my issues with it is, I mean, there are a couple. Okay, so my deal with this show is actually not that far off of what Les was saying about Airplane. Faulty Towers is widely recognized as being one of the funniest TV comedies ever, and I do not dispute that. I do think it's a hilarious show. I have watched it. I've watched it multiple times. But I, I started watching it back in that time frame when I was like middle school age, and it would be on public television along with all the other British comedies. It is definitely one of the comedies that kind of shaped my sense of comedy at this point. Um, but I can't watch it anymore. I've the last time I tried to watch it, it was honestly just too painful for me. I maybe over the years I developed an aversion to that whole awkward comedy thing. I can't do it, and so as much as I really enjoyed the show, the first few times I watched it when I was like a teenager, I can't watch it as a grown up anymore. It's just too awkward. It's almost like they're making fun of Basil Fawlty's mental illness or something. I just can't do it. Again, it is definitely one of the greatest comedies ever. I do not dispute that in any way. I can't watch it. Maybe it's too good. I don't know. So that's a roundabout way of saying I did not rewatch it for this episode.
And that's all well and good.
Yep, it is. It is amazing as kind of as a unit, as a whole. This show, it's it's so over the top, and it is so farcical, and it's like I said, so manic. I mean, I can understand why it would take them so long to write an episode because they're cramming a lot of stuff into a 30-minute episode of this show. And to do that and actually have a self-contained story to boot, I mean, like you said, like Les said, it didn't really string on from episode to episode, but each episode is a story. I give them a lot of credit because, man, that had to be brutal. I mean, I'm sure it was really fun too, but there's a lot. There's a lot there. It's a lot of work. And I don't think we're going to get away from this without having to mention the sign.
Yeah.
The sign is hilarious.
Now, remind me. It wasn't every episode. Was it every episode that was altered, or is there's like?
It was different every episode. It wasn't always. It sometimes it did still say Fawlty Towers, but like there would be a letter missing or something, and then some episodes the letters would just be rearranged.
Right.
Into anagrams. Yeah, and there was no warning. It was like boom right there at the beginning.
Right.
That was like the opening shot was. It would say they would have Fawlty Towers superimposed over the shot of the sign in front of the hotel. And I mean, boom, right off the bat. It's not like you're watching a bunch of smart-ass kids out there rearranging it. It's already there. Who knows how long it's been that way? But yeah, it's just one of those little details.
Yeah.
That makes it fun. It's kind of right in the opening credits, you've got a fun little taste of what's to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Those were fun to kind of encounter because, like you said, I mean, you're tuning into the episode, and that is literally the first thing you see, other than the superimposed logo of the show, and you're just going, "Whoa, okay." Interesting. And it's kind of I kind of find it interesting that it's not something you can watch anymore, Mike. And you're and I can understand and appreciate that. It's something I hadn't watched in a long time, so I'm not sure how I would feel about it now. And I just remember enjoying it when I was younger, and it's because of, and it's because of the writing. I mean, and John Cleese, because I mean he's already a, I guess dare I say it, a funny looking person, and then he was great at slapstick, but he was also great with the sarcasm, the snark, and all that. He was, I mean, who said genius? I hadn't thought about him being genius, but yeah, he's pretty damn good.
Right. I mean, not. I mean, you look at least two of what are recognized as the funniest shows ever, and he was a major contributor on both of them. So between this and Monty Python's Flying Circus, I mean, clearly dude had it going on. And I say had, he's again still with us.
Right.
So still does. I imagine he's not doing much. I would be ready to retire if I was his age for sure. But folks like that, the creative types, it's a dodgy proposition. They don't always want to retire. He's still around. I want to say he was doing some sort of tour recently. Like a conversation type tour.
Yeah.
Some people will go around and talk about stuff they did. I mean, it's one of those things, but still, that would be interesting to see.
Well, I mean, he was here locally just a few weeks ago to receive the Ernie Kovacs Award.
Oh dang!
He was here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he was happy. He was happy. He was very appreciative because of the fact that Dallas means a lot to him and the rest of the members of Monty Python. And we talked about this before, that this area was basically the entrance for Monty Python into America.
True.
Yep.
And of course, he was touring with Eric Idle. They did a two-man show, and that was fun. It's very interesting.
Wish I could have seen that, because I'm sure it was great.
I'd look at the episode list for the 2 seasons, and to tell you the truth, I can't tell you what was the funniest episode. They were just so great. I don't know if you guys have a choice or not, but to try to whittle this down is too tough for words. If you say, I want one from season 1 and one from season 2, I still couldn't give you a top program. And for 30 minutes, it was a show that I could just not think, not have to pay strict attention to, except for the dialogue. You have to pay attention to the dialogue because things will be slapped down as fast as you can think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it is a fast-paced show.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Yeah, there's no way I could pick a favorite. I mean, I'm having the same problem you are. I'm looking at these and I'm like, oh god, yeah, I've seen that. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, nope, yep, that one's good too. Oh, yep. John Cleese running around pretending to be Hitler. Yep, that's too much. Yep, the guy dies at the hotel. Yep, that's insane. Yep, that one's crazy. Oh, yep, the wedding. And oh, yeah, the anniversary thing and the rat and oh yeah, it's just all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do this on American TV. You can't make a show like this on American TV.
Yeah.
because you have to crank out 20 some odd episodes a year. Honestly, that's down. That number keeps creeping smaller and smaller, which is honestly better, in my opinion. You're more likely to get better episodes if you're not trying to flood the market with them.
True. Back in the 50s and 60s, it was a number of about 39 episodes. And that gave you 13 weeks of reruns. So if you missed something, you're more than likely SOL.
Yep.
Then it went to, 26?
Yeah.
After a while, which is a little more comfortable because you would possibly see it all over before the new season started.
Out of order, of course, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what the standard is anymore. The last time I looked, it was like 22.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It might be less than that now. I don't even know.
Well, I think it seems to me what they do now is they intentionally do like a break, where so it's like you do like 10 or 11, and then there's a winter break, and then they'll come back and they'll do another 10 or 11. So I don't know. It's kind of like we're kind of I don't know.
It almost sounds like they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
That it's just better to have it in a smaller dose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and good for them, honestly. I wish they wouldn't try to make up phrases to describe them. I mean, honestly, the phrase mid-season finale.
Yeah.
The editor in me finds that offensive. Just because it's not the end if it's the middle.
Right.
Come on.
Yes. Yeah.
Make me crazy saying crazy stuff like that. But anyway.
Well, it's almost like we should adopt what the British do and not call it seasons, just call it series. So the fall would be series. If this is a brand new show, this is series 1, and then when it starts up in the spring, that's series 2.
Yeah, you can have more than one. You can have more than one per year.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Is that we keep, for some reason, we've got latched down the idea that you have to do it for a year. Why?
Yeah.
Why you have to do it for a year? They don't do it for a year over there. Works great.
Yeah.
You just have to pay attention and to know when the next ones are coming.
The reality shows on American television all use seasons. So if they say season 30, I'm going, well, okay, that means they've been around for 10 years. Because they usually have 3 seasons in a 12-month period. And that's irritating as can be. But if you watch...
Well, it's because reality TV is as irritating as can be.
Well, that's very true. Now, if you watch some of the series that USA was running, such as Psych or Blue Collar, things like that, they would give you a clump of 10 to 12 episodes twice a year. And it was kind of, instead of a season, it was a series, which worked, just like Thomas was talking about. That worked. The way that Fawlty Towers was constructed, it too worked. But they had to take quite some time to write 6 episodes for each season. And it was, to me, it was viable. This is a series that I can sit down and watch again and again. But I look back at some of the TV that I watched growing up, I slap my forehead, I roll my eyes, it just doesn't make sense. And two of those that I think of are Wild Wild West and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Those are two series that were fascinating to me. I look at it now and go, this was crap. And yet we watched.
Yeah, see, my deal with both of those shows, it always bothered me that I could never get into them because the ideas were so cool. Both of those shows have really cool, like, backstories and premises and all of that stuff. It's the execution that doesn't work for some reason. It's very weird. And honestly, I'm gonna get in trouble here. Um, there, I kind of have the same. I have the same problem with Doctor Who. The ideas behind. I mean, if you read a synopsis of a Doctor Who of a just the episodes in a season of Doctor Who, there's some really cool stuff there. The problem is I've just never been able to sit down and watch it. At least not since I don't know. I hesitate to say the phrase grown up, but like I said, I got to a point where I just don't have the tolerance for for that sort of thing anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
I just can't do it anymore. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to watch Wild Wild West back in the same time frame when I'm watching Faulty Towers and Monty Python and all of that stuff. I couldn't do it. I could watch one or two episodes and that was it. And there was stuff that I kind of just didn't get it. The, the concepts were cool, but they just didn't translate well for me, in my opinion. This is my humble opinion I'm talking about. But yeah, the ideas were great, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. I mean, I don't know if it was, and looking back, I don't know if it was a direction issue, because honestly, the acting was really good most of the time. But I mean, it's like they weren't. It's like they were trying to stretch things out to an hour or something in a lot of cases. And if they could just write a 40-minute show, it would be much better. Or if they had the time, because like back then they're trying to crank out 30 some odd episodes in a year. If they'd had more than a week to write the dang thing, maybe it would have worked.
Well, we discussed that an Americanized version of this did not work before. Could it work now?
I don't know. I'm not sure it could. Not as written.
Well, I think for the same reason you talked about it before. It's just there's something about losing that translation from, if you're removing essentially the Britishness of the show and try to make it American. I mean, you talking about, let's go ahead and keep the sexes the same. So the lead is a male who is kind of a snobbish, but is spineless and has all these crazy things going on around him. I mean, that part can work. But I mean, I think you lose a little something. And I think that may have been part of the reason why it just didn't translate before, right?
Yeah, I think
True.
honestly, I think the only way that you're going to make this, you could do this now, would be to make it animated, because there's just so much more stuff you can do in terms of physical comedy that way. Because I mean, the whole point of the show was that it was so far over the top, it wasn't, you couldn't even see it from the ground.
Right.
I to try to do, I think you're going to have a hard time doing that in this age of CGI. I think you might as well just make it animated to start with. And even then, I still think it has to be British. I just don't think. I don't think I don't think American audiences, even today, are going to be able to swallow it in terms of the absolutely manic, completely OCD anybody, much less small hotel operator. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have that many small hotels anymore. I guess you could do it as like an Airbnb type thing, or it would have to be like a bed and breakfast or something.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not sure I would watch it. I'm not sure who you'd get to write it.
Well, and there's your key right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can perfectly cast the show, but man, if the writing's not there, it doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
And we've seen that.
Yeah, because I can't imagine Cleese would do it at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's animated, maybe. But,
Well, he could
yeah,
do the
not
voice.
likely.
I'm talking about the writing. I mean, I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, my
Yeah,
understanding.
I don't see him doing writing. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I have read, it was a drain to write the show.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine him wanting to do that again.
Yeah.
At his age. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you could find somebody who would be. I don't know if you could find a team of people who could do it. Because I mean, that's honestly how it all gets done now anyway. Is you've got 15 people in a room doing it.
Yeah. What do you think, Les?
I agree. I don't think you could find a cast, even animated, that could do justice to this. And the writing is going to be paramount. Otherwise, it falls flat. So I'm going to say I don't want it done because I would see, no pun intended, but too many faults. And I don't want that to jump up to the front and go, this is great. That's like the 70s version of King Kong. Why is it people thought that was great when the original was far better? That's the way I would feel about this one too.
Well, the 70s version of King Kong's so great is because it has Mike's buddy, Charles Grodin, in it.
There you go.
There you go.
There I went.
That answers all of our questions. You know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
You make that reference to my distaste for his work.
Well, Les is in the same boat, so I mean,
No,
I could have gone either way, and I would have been, yeah. So.
But what makes that, I don't know if it's ironic. It's probably not really ironic, but what makes it interesting for me is that I've seen, because there are on some of the satellite channels, the local satellite channels, one of them shows reruns of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen Charles Grodin on that show,
Mm-hmm.
he is actually hilarious. Because he and Johnny have this weird banter relationship thing, and it's funny as hell. It's like Grodin goes on there with the sole purpose of just disrupting Johnny, just screwing up the interview on purpose, and it's so funny. It is. This is weird because it is pretty awkward at times, but it's hilarious. I've seen at least 2 of them. So apparently the guy did have a sense of humor. It's just really hard to tell from some of the work he's done.
Gonna have to go on YouTube and see if I can find some of that.
Yeah, it's some funny stuff.
So, Fawlty Towers. Pretty good show.
Thumbs up.
It's still, even after our discussion, widely recognized as one of the funniest shows ever. And rightly so, I think. If you have not seen it, track it down.
Yeah.
We say that a lot, really, but
Yeah.
it's true.
Is it even shown on? I mean, does even PBS even do the Sunday night British comedy anymore? I don't know.
I'm not sure if they're doing it specifically on Sunday night. They did it for a long time. They might be. Well, I mean, not surprisingly, they have latched onto the cop shows a lot lately. Then you'll see those, they'll show those prime time. And there are a handful of them that they just show all the time, and it's actually a little annoying because you know what American TV doesn't need? More cop shows.
Right.
But yeah, so there's still important stuff from Britain, and I think they do still import some of the comedies. I haven't seen anything lately that's jumped out at me though.
Okay, well, any final thoughts before we take a quick break? Besides, check out the show if you've not.
Yeah, I think we've said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Alrighty, on that note, we're going to take a quick break and come back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks. And for this week, I lead off. For my first choice, I'm going with DC Comics. It is the Robin 80th Anniversary 100-page Super Spectacular. This is the 80th anniversary of the introduction of Robin the Boy Wonder. So, to celebrate, DC Comics put together this special that is a who's of writers and artists, and it's going to be awesome. There's like 10 different covers from each decade and all that. Beautiful covers. Definitely check this out. It's one of several. I mean, we got Joker and Catwoman coming out for their 80th anniversary, and I think we're going to have something for Green Lantern and all that. So, I mean, 2020 is a big year for DC Comics on some of their characters, and Robin leads off this year.
Cool.
Yeah, this intrigued me too. I was ready for this.
Alrighty, Les, you are next.
My first choice also comes from DC Comics. It is Batman, Alfred Pennyworth. This is a collection of stories featuring the famed Butler, and this trade is being put out because of the tragic death of Alfred in the City of Bane storyline. So you've got, I'm going to say 10 different stories, which I think is pretty good to be in a collection. So I'm ready to sit down and just get my fill.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. Be interesting to see some of that stuff collected together.
Yeah, especially some of the older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The really older stuff. So, yeah, that stuff that you don't get to see all that often. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
Right.
Okay, Mikey.
Alrighty, my first pick is from Boom Studios, and I'm picking a new title called Wicked Things. Issue number 1 is coming out. And this is from the team that brought us the Giant Days series. So this is kind of an offshoot of that, and it follows one of their characters and I quote here, everyone's favorite child detective, Charlotte Grote. So this is the story of how she kind of got started, because she's, if you're not familiar, she was a precocious child, um, helping the cops solve crimes at the age of 9. This series starts with her at 19, actually starting out as a police officer. So I think this looks like a lot of fun. This would be a great entry point for a character like this.
Cool.
I agree.
Yeah, Giant Days was some good stuff. So glad to see this creative team stay together. So yeah, definitely want to check this out.
Building out the universe there.
There you go. Okay. For my second choice, I'm going with I guess as a new publisher, it's not one I'm familiar with. It's Artists, Writers, and Artisans. And it's a miniseries. This first issue is called Red Border. Written by Jason Starr, with art by Will Conrad and Ivan Nunez. And it's a story of a young Mexican couple who are trying to escape the cartel by crossing the border. And they find refuge by a mysterious local person, but come find out things are not what they seem. So this sounds like it's going to be kind of they talked about trapped in a house of horrors beyond their wildest imagination. So this is going to be this is definitely a dark book, but it kind of caught my attention.
Sounds cool.
Very cool.
Okay, Les, you're next.
From Dark Horse Comics comes The Art of Cuphead. This is a book of anime strips which give a 1930s animation look. In this, you get to see the frame-by-frame animation. Boy, this is tough. Animation for the gameplay. And what's intriguing to me is I want to see the style. I want to see how they handle the characters of Cuphead and Megman as they travel through Inkwell Isles. Let's just see how this is going to be front and center for this book, and I think it'll be fun to thumb through for sure.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how some of that stuff works. That would be cool.
I have watched this game be played on Twitch when it first came out, and yeah, I do love the animation. It kind of reminds me of some of it's like the old 30s, 40s animation where it was toys coming to life or that kind of thing. It's very much in that style, and that's what's always intrigued me about the game was the look of the game. So yeah, this would be a great book to kind of take a look at that art, because it is very visually appealing.
Yep.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Alrighty, my second pick is from Red 5 Comics, and this is a new title called Dragon Whisperer. This is a 4-issue series. This is the first one, obviously. And this is the story of for one, this is set in kind of a steampunk world. And this is the story of a cursed airship captain who has been trying to essentially free himself from this curse for a long time, like an unnaturally long time. And he has finally found the path to do that, and Part of that is a new character named Rosalinda who bills herself as the Dragon Whisperer. And so I think this is steampunk is a very interesting. I like the comics that you see. It's always interesting to see how they kind of design the look of those, and so this is going to be interesting from that perspective for me, and I'm sure it'll be a cool story too.
Yeah, definitely.
Good choice.
Alrighty, and since we don't have Liz, once again, we all have third picks. So for pick number 3 is another new title from artists, writers, and artisans. Once again, this is another 4-issue miniseries, and it's called Hotel. Sorry, I don't know why I saw that bad. Hotel, Hotell, written by John Lees and art by Dalipur Talyak. I'm butchering that name, and I'm sorry. And it is regarding a hotel called the Perot Courts. And as the synopsis says, you won't find it on any map, but if you happen to be driving down Route 66 late at night and you're truly desperate for shelter, sanctuary, or secrecy, you might see a battered sign on the side of the road, the Perot Courts Hotel, where many check in, but few check out. So another dark book here, but it kind of caught my attention. So I definitely want to check this out.
Could be fun.
Yeah. Alrighty, Les.
I too am coming from artists, writers, and artisans. A new number 1 called Resistance. This is a futuristic story of a global disaster. And of this, you have people that form the wall to stop. They are the resistance, and they are there to do away with this plague that is hitting the earth. I have been reading this one for like 2 or 3 months now. The printer is, like I said, artists. Their comic is called Upshot, and Upshot has been coming out with collections of their upcoming titles, and the one that Thomas referenced before is in this collection. So I've read about the first 2 or 3 issues of the one he speaks of, and Resistance, and several others. They've got a new Frank Cho book coming out. So I want to see this in color and reread it just to get the full effect. So I'm definitely going to contact my comic shop and grab this one.
Very cool.
Cool. Yeah, it's always exciting to see either a new or an up and coming publisher get their feet under them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, Mike.
Okie dokie. My third pick is from Dark Horse Comics, and I am picking Starship Down, number 1. This is a new book coming out, and it is about a cultural anthropologist who has been brought in by the government to study essentially an alien ship found buried under the ice in Siberia. And there's a whole lot of, most likely a whole lot of global politics going on, and probably some personal issues happening as well. But it should be a fun story, and who knows how it'll turn out. And one notable thing is the cover for this book is really cool, because it's got like the character standing in the foreground, and behind her is she's like in a cave, and behind her on the wall is like cave paintings of people like looking up at flying saucers. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was on my radar as well. So, yeah, I'm ready for this one. Alrighty. Any special shout-outs this week?
I don't think so.
Just come join us for the next meetup.
Yep, definitely. Love to see you out there. Okay, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs then. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasters. Definitely check out some of their shows. There's a link in show notes. We also want you to check out brothers and sister podcasters on Twitter, known as Potter and Family. And the easiest way to do that is just do a search, hashtag Potter and Family. It's all one word. And just scroll through, and whatever catches your attention, by all means, please click on that link, download that episode, and have a good time. Thank you guys for your support as always. I want to thank Mandy the Martyr for supplying the music to the podcast. We link in the show notes for you to check out some of their other pieces of music, a couple of EPs, I believe, 2 or 3 EPs. Definitely check them out. Thank you guys, as always. And finally, you dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We always appreciate your support, and we highly value your feedback. If you have a question, comment, suggestion, complaint, observation, what have you, we'd love to hear from you. And there are several ways you can contact us. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can also go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there is a form that you can fill out there, and we will receive that. Thank you. I already mentioned our Facebook page, Fellowship of the Geeks. Follow us there, and if you are interested in checking out our meet and gabs, as Les was talking about, there is a Facebook event set up there, so with more information. And if you're interested, then by all means say you're interested, or if you're planning on attending, go ahead and let us know. That would be great. We're obviously on Twitter as well, @Fellowship Geeks. Please follow us there. If you like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, you can do that. Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download and listen to this show, we greatly appreciate it if you would take a couple of moments and rate and review us. All right. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening. We do appreciate your support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,